Dinner Bus, The Journey Onward by Master Atlan, Chapter 76, where we end. How you feeling, princess? Don't think you can be cute just because I'm hospitalized. Why said with narrowed eyes as Yang giggled and scratched her cheek. The sneak hairs crossed her arms and sat back with a cuff into her pillows as she kicked up the blankets. And to be honest, I'm livid that I have to sit here and rest while I'm fine. Her teammates looked between each other. Why, sir? You exploded. I took the brunt of an explosion blast with the remainder of my aura. She corrected. The last of the eruption died out with the dredges of my aura. I didn't explode. So stop saying it like that. Okay, Blake nodded. But you were in the center of an explosion with your limited aura running dry and were covered in soot and burn marks when it was over. Weiss frowned and glared to the side. It wasn't that bad. If the same thing happened to Ruby, what would you say? That she should go up and listen to the instructions from the professionals, telling her not to overexert herself, darn her vigilance and sensibility to listen to reasonable authority figures. It's okay, Weiss. Ruby sat by her partner's side in the infirmary along with some other people that had been hurt during the festivals. Mostly people that had sustained injuries in their fight, had been hurt running around the fairgrounds, or had just eaten too much cotton candy. They say you can leave and come back to the room by tonight, so it won't be much longer, and then we can celebrate us making our way to the singles. We wouldn't have made it without you. Yang patted her ivory-haired friend's shoulder and grinned. I promise I won't let you down. I'll make it all the way through to the top in your honor. You'd better. Weiss coughed before the sisters laughed. They then looked up at their last teammate and noticed her attention was somewhere else. Blake, I'm sorry. Am I boring you? No, sorry, I'm not bored, and I am concerned with your well-being. Happy to see you recover. The hidden fondness was bouncing impatiently on her feet. It's just what? Weiss groaned. Her arms crossed her arms and raised her eyebrow. Well, what could be more important than your recovering teammate? The last match of the doubles is about to happen. They all turned to the screen that had the eyes of everyone in the tent, or even just those passing by. It showed the ring while Ublik and Porta gave their commentary, and the crowd started to lose their mind with the anticipation. Ruby's entire body started to vibrate as Yang's knuckles clenched in anticipation. Hey, Weiss quickly noticed the turn. I'm still recovering, and I'm your teammate, May, the person who selflessly threw herself into an explosion to save her comrades so that we could win glory. The person you all came to see. Yep, who'd really appreciate it if your attention wasn't drifting to our places right now. Sorry, Weiss. Ruby called out to her partner as she, Blake, and Yang were already making their way back to the Coliseum. We'll be thinking of you. Get better soon. We'll blow some kisses on your behalf. That's not. Hey, and just like that, they were gone, leaving her to sit in her bed and toil while better things were going on. The hairs groaned and crossed her arms in a tiff as she swore she'd never let them live this down. At least she'd had a good view of the screen. Hunting, I am so glad you're okay. Of course I am. Neon chuckled as Kiba lifted her off of her feet and hugged her tightly. Were you worried about me? Honestly, I thought Yang was gonna kill you for that boob joke you made at her. Hey, psychological warfare is a total legitimate tactic in the heat of battle. She was an Atlas student and had learned a lot about how breaking your friend's composure and mind is just as effective as breaking their stance or defenses. I just wasn't expecting her to hit so much harder after I got her riled up. Do you think I should apologize? Well, she is the girl that told me about the club we went to. Oh well, then screw her. Kiba had to nod in agreement with that statement as his girlfriend grabbed his arm. So hey, now that I'm free for the rest of the festival, what do you want to do? We got to do something fun to celebrate. The tournament would be over by the end of the week, and then the festival would come to an end, which meant all the transfers and visitors from the other kingdoms would return home soon after. That meant Kiba and Neon, and then that meant there was an awkward conversation to be had between Kiba and Neon about what they should do about their relationship. Normally, Kiba preferred to just handle things directly and settle matters with people as quickly as possible, but he couldn't bring himself to do this because, damn it, it was his first girlfriend. Give him a break. Absolutely, he grinned, squeezed her hand back. I bet there's somewhere to eat in the city. Kiba, the tattooed boy and the cat fondness both flinched and looked over as Tintin came running down the corridor frantically. Why are you just standing there? The last match is about to start. We can't miss it. Haiyan, come on! She passed the couple and sprinted to find her seat. Kiba and Neon turned to each other. Want to sit together? You read my mind. Hunting, I got the popcorn with enough butter on it that it's starting to form in the bottom. Soda, we need more soda. I bought as much candy as I could carry. No, are you sure all of this is entirely necessary? Yes, Ren, I've calculated everything perfectly. The little hammer-wielding powerhouse of Team Juniper proclaimed while she held a huge amount of confectionaries in her arms. We must have everything perfect for the fight. Pierre struggled to hold up all the popcorn buckets, and John's arms were sticky from the soda spilling onto them. With Ren looking worried about the amount of sugar treats in his grasp. If we eat all of this salty, fizzy, and sugary goodness all at once in time with the fight, we'll experience an adrenaline rush unlike any other in Remington. That would probably leave us hollow and worn out afterwards. Ren remarked, finding it necessary to play the rational one when Nora's plan was so close to completion. Who cares? We won a match already. We're celebrating. Come on, slowpokes. Let's move. Nora huffed it and disappeared with a cloud of dust and trail of popcorn behind her. Her teammates looked unconcerned about her plan, but they were also really looking forward to the match. So they threw caution to the wind and followed at a much slower pace. Hunting, Gar patiently sat back in his seat and waited for the show to start. Lee was causing a commotion to the side while Tamara tried to calm him down and conquer Ronda. He wasn't going to look away for a second. He knew for certain he'd have to face one of them to win this whole thing, and he was going to watch the match with his undivided attention. Hunting, do you think Coco is going to come watch? David asked Fox as they sat together in the stands. Her silent teammates looked over at her and stared in response. I know she hates to lose, but she's never let a loss bring her down like this before. The kind fondness looked between her friends. Should we go stay with her? I don't think it is simply the loss that is getting to her, but that she believes that she made a rookie mistake she could have avoided. Nothing is ever perfect or planned in the battlefield, and when we look back at it, all we can do is regret that we could not do better. Yes, Hashi wisely said. I don't think Coco needs us credit her. I think she just wants some time to sort things out herself. Jeez, don't make me sound like a broken toy. They looked back as Coco rounded the seat behind them and sat down in an empty seat. The leader leaned back in her chair and looked peeved, still thinking about their loss. She noticed the gaze inside him. I ain't gonna spend the entire festival moping and feeling sorry about myself. I looked myself in the mirror and knew that the emo style just wasn't gonna suit my fabulous self. So I'm gonna buck up and watch the fights. She noticed her teammates smile proudly at her, and she rolled her eyes behind her glasses. Don't say anything. Just sit back and cheer for Velvet's favorite boy toy. Why do you have to say it like that? Because your reaction sustains me, Bun. Hunting, come on, hurry. It's son egged his teammates to sit down as he bounced in his chair. You're gonna miss the best fight yet. Shouldn't the best fight have been yours? We won easy, but this is what we've been waiting for. Hunting, yeah. No, all right, stop. He's had enough. The wire of the jewel stopped, and Tahia stepped back with a panicked, terrified expression. She looked down at the power tool in her hand and noticed the sheen over the jewel wasn't red like it should have been, but black. The three Elysium members looked down at Jugo as he let out a monstrous growl and panted from the pain. His arms, legs, and neck were restrained from chains, and his body coated the ground around him from his continuous torture. The red marks from his blood had started to get covered with black as his plasma slowly changed color. His body had been sliced, ground, and shocked, burned, peeled, carved, and drilled into for days. Sugetsu, Taiya, and Karen had taken turns to do whatever damage they could to their teammate, only stopping for breaks when they needed rest or when Sugetsu and Taiya had to perform in the tournament. They were skilled in torture, but at Orochimaru's behest they had been practicing on judo, and while their friends' horrific screams nearly made them sick, they had learned to live with it over the course of their experimenting. They had used nearly every tool and technique they could think of to inflict pain on their teammate, and it seemed to be working. So you walked back over beside Suigetsu and Karin as they watched the stream of the tournament. There's the crude pink-haired girl drop the drill and dry heave in disgust. I can't keep doing this. We have to stop him. We can't. Orochimaru told us to keep doing this until the day we have to act. We just have to accept it. Easy for you to say, Karin said with spite as she glared at their so-called leader. You're going to the singles. You get to leave this place. We're stuck here doing this for who knows how long. The sharp-toothed boy scratched his head and sighed with guilt. I'm sorry. I know it sucks to hurt him like this. It's not just that. She grabbed the drill and held it up for him to see. Look at this. The drill was drenched in blood, almost like black ichor, and the end of the drill was bent and damaged. It was the same as the other tools too. They started degrading and chipping. When just a few days ago, they worked to the wonder. When the grim survives getting hurt and keeps living, it grows stronger and more furious. And when Jugo was hurt, along with whatever might remain of his adaptation semblance in that coldly changing body, the three looked over at their friend, wary about the obvious changes he was going through. His body looked larger, with more patches of black, and the grim bones that looked so out of place on his body becoming more prominent. Jugo panted even more before pulling on his arms, causing the chains and restraints holding him down to restrain and stress. The others flinched and cautiously stayed on guard. They turned back to the screen and focused on the fight ahead, hoping to take their minds off the horror they were committing for just a little while longer. Hunting, Shikamaru, Choji, stop wasting time. It's gonna start any minute. We have it on recording. The bored young man stated as he had to scoot over and make more room on the already overcrowded couch. We can just pause and rewind it if we miss anything. We're watching it live, and that's that. No excuses. What a drag. He grumbled and stared at the screen while the break room was filled with skeeking employees. He looked around at all of the people that had come to see the show and couldn't help but look at his father judgingly. Shouldn't you all be doing your jobs or something? We can take a break when we want to, and we decided to take it so we could show a little support, Shikaku said before crossing his arms. After all the work we put into helping that kid, he better make it to the next round. Hey, we should tell the boss we're showing our support. Uncle piped up in the middle of shoving sweets down her gullet. I bet he'd be really happy to see us cheer the kid on. He's not going to give you a raise or anything for your brown nosing. Well, I think I should at least get something. Hunting Winter stood at the back of the room and watched as the others talked about the upcoming fight and who would win. They clearly had a bias going into the match since it was one of their own teammates that remained. She certainly wished them luck in the battle, but she had another reason to watch the match. The door beside her opened up and she watched Gordon and Deidara walk in. Actually, Gordon walked in and dragged the pictured immature psychopathic fool behind her like a lump of dead meat. The moody blonde let me go. I don't want to watch the fucking fight. I want to work on my art. I know that's code for blowing stuff up, and considering we're on a flying ship, I can't let you do that. Gurren dragged Deidara up to his feet and pointed to the screen. He's about to fight in a minute. Don't you want to watch and give your support? Give my support to the traitor who stabbed us in the back. Nah, I'm good. So I'm going back to my quarters and fuck, you're here too. Winter's eyebrow twitched. Is there any way to speak to a superior officer? Superior is pushing it. The twitch grew more pronounced with her growing irritation before the snickered. I guess you're really enjoying the match, won't you? On a side note, I seriously find it creepy you were asking us about your interest in the younger man, especially for someone so advanced in it. Oh, damn it, Gurren, you stupid whore! Can you stop hitting me? You should be thankful. If I let you keep talking, she would have killed you before you uttered another syllable. She is correct. Winter nodded her affirmation while smiling mockingly at the pyromaniac who was clutching his head in pain. I would have happily put you in the ground before you even finished speaking. Why do you even want to watch the fight? Because despite everything that happened, I want to make sure that he is still doing all right. They still didn't look convinced. So Gurren smirked. Plus, don't you want to know if all of you training can beat an Atlas duo? And that was enough to make the explosive Atlas growl and cross his arms petulantly as he stared at the screen. He was so easy to get through if you knew how his mind worked. Hunting. So, who do we root for exactly? Well, one team is from Atlas and the other has a Faunus on it. So we should root for the Faunus' team, right? Yeah, but considering his teammate, this is so confusing. Should you two really be wasting time watching the matches? The two white vanguards flinched and scrambled to their weapons before jumping up to their feet. They stood at attention and saluted the red-haired woman. They were in charge of guarding. Ma'am, sorry, we didn't mean to be slacking off, ma'am. We were just taking a moment to watch the festival. I know we shouldn't be wasting our time like that, but the redhead stepped forward, moving past her guards and staring at the screen as the stream continued to showcase the area. The two bodyguards looked at their leader and waited nervously as they expected her to reprimand them for not focusing. When she didn't say anything and just watched the screen, they apprehensively sat back down to watch the match. Although they were relieved to know that they weren't in trouble, they were still a little nervous. They sent wary glances up at the Red Death to gauge her responses and see if they were safe. Was the fact she was smiling at the screen a good or bad thing? Hunting, we have the last competitors of the doubles round now taking the stage, and if the crowd's response is anything to gauge by, though this may be the last fight, it is certainly one to look forward to. The Atlas team has proven themselves capable and dangerously focused on the fight. Rega, the large swordsman looked up as Itachi finally arrived at his battle. Instead of taking a seat, the stirred man noticed his head to the exit. Dario arrived and gave us orders. We need to go out and meet him at the rendezvous. Are you sure you don't want to sit down? I'm sure. The last match is about to start. I'm sure you'll want to see it. Itachi looked back at the screen. Everyone in the cafe was staring at before shaking his head. We can't hold him up any longer. You know how quickly he can lose energy if we don't act fast enough. Faith shrugged and stood up. You really aren't interested in watching? Not at all. Itachi said quietly, but with firm belief in his voice. I already know how it's going to turn out. Hunting, I have no idea how this is going to turn out. Would we lose and get excommunicated from the school? Would we win, have all the expectations and pressure of Atlas dropping on us instead? What if the stage falls out and we get crushed by the debris? What if the stage falls but we live with broken limbs for the rest of our lives? What if there's a tragedy that attacks all the what if there's a tragedy that causes all the Grimm to get riled up and attack? Shut up! His head jerked forward after her steely fist smacked against the back of it. Clutching his skull, he looked back at his hot-tempered partner as she fumed at his insecurity. The dark-skinned ginger cracked her knuckles and fixed the bulky gauntlet affixed to her forearm. Look, I don't need you spiraling into your paranoia and panic when our match is about to begin. Can you please do one of those rare buck-ups you do where you become hyper-competent and useful? Because I really need someone like that on my side, rather this sniveling pile of nerves. You're not helping ease my worries at all, the young man retorted, earning a look of eye from his teammate as he rubbed his head and stood back up. His sword clattered against the flak jacket covering his torso as he rubbed his pale skin. Shouldn't you be a little worried? Why would I be worried? She questioned. The city may secured by husband and huntresses from all around. She tapped the arena below them. These arenas have been refined and reinforced to handle more and more punishment than either of us could dish out in a lifetime. And when we win, we'll be regarded with praise and admiration, and not waves of anxiety and pants pissing. I think you mean if we win. I mean when. She confidently said with a scoff. It's us I'm talking about. More specifically me, because it feels like I'll be picking up a lot of the slack in our match. Well, confidence is key, I guess. The more cautious and quiet the duo shrugged with uncertainty. But we are facing another team that got to the doubles. Shouldn't we be concerned? Shouldn't we consider them a threat before we make any assumptions that we're just going to win? place. She scoffed before the whole arena erupted in cheers and yells. The two teams from Atlas turned to the empty side of the arena as the opposing team finally arrived to join them on the stage. It didn't look so tough. On one side, the young blonde fawners with a short sword around his waist and a headband around his forehead. Beside him, a raven-haired boy with a stern expression and a katana within a white sheath strapped to his cable, joining the center stage. And it looks like we are finally ready to begin. I hope we are all ready for the final uproarious match of the doubles round, because this looks to be a promising final match for us to close out the day. Indeed, Peter. Two teams, one all the way from Atlas and the other trained right here at Beacon. From Atlas, we have Omikawa and Kaori Komaotsu, who have handedly shown just how ready and capable they are in a fight. After both of their teammates were knocked out, they turned the tide of battle and reclaimed victory by defeating the remaining four members by themselves. An astonishing feat that shows they are a team to watch out for. And on the other side, we have students of Beacon that have already proven they will be big players to look out for in just their first year alone, involved in halting the crimes of Roman Torchwick and some of the first responders to the breach. 1/6 of the Dirty Dozen themselves. It's Naruto Uzumaki and Sasuke Uchiha. Omo raised an eyebrow. Dirty Dozen. Sasuke suddenly shook his head as Naruto let out a deep, almost traumatized sigh. We're stuck with that stupid name for the rest of our lives. Geez, you have a little bit of a reputation with the locals, huh? Kaori called out, speaking from the other side of the stage to engage with her future opponents before the match started. That's cute, but I think that name sucks ass. Yeah, I can't really argue on that one. But just having a cute little name for you and your friends isn't really a guarantee for anything. Kaori said, confidently crossing her arms and looking at her two opponents, unimpressed by the moniker or the achievements they might have under their belt. What I can guarantee is we'll have a win when this is over, and you two will be on the ground beaten and without any aura left. So why don't you do yourselves a favor and quit now before we start? It'll be humiliating to surrender so soon, but I promise it'll hurt a lot less than the alternative. It's smack talk. Sasuke looked over at Naruto. That was quick. The match hasn't even started yet. She's eager. The whiskered blonde looked back at the hot-tempered girl and smirked. Sorry, but we don't feel like doing that today. Why would we surrender when the win is pretty much already ours? Omui sweated slightly and looked over at his partner as her eyes twitched slightly. Her nostrils flared as she took a sharp, deep breath to control herself from tackling the smug fox right then and there. Controlling herself, the Atlas hunters looked between the two boys and scoffed. This is kind of cruel, don't you think? I mean, not just on a cosmic level, but just poor decision making on your part. You had a teammate who could charge through danger without pause, and one who could cover herself in a metallic alloy, and you get stuck with him instead. What do you mean? He's in Uchiha, Kaori stated, eyeing the raven-haired boy quietly before looking back at Naruto. You know, what his family did in the past, right? What will other people think if they see you partnered up with him here on the stage? God, Sasuke, did your family do something terrible and you didn't tell me? How could you? Naruto cried out, cupping his cheeks and turning to his teammate in horror. Sasuke only responded with a silent, bored expression that said he wasn't going to play along. Kaori fumed as Naruto turned back to look at her with a cheeky grin. Sorry, lady, but you're gonna have to do better than that. If you know half the things that we had survived together and still try to break us apart, you'd laugh or cry. Probably more likely cry. Naruto quickly agreed with his teammate. Actually, kind of tragic when you look back at all of it. But it won't be as tragic as your loss today. So that'll be fun. Omi, when you get the chance, kill that guy. I'm not gonna kill him. Are you arguing with me? If the alternative is I commit murder just because this guy can clap back, then yes, I'm arguing. Why is it only at times like this do you actually grow a spine? Several holographic images appeared around the arena and started to rapidly spin like roulette wheels. The students shut up and looked around as the terrain was being decided upon. The four wheels finally came to a halt, and the landscape was decided decided forced geyser, ice, and anti-gravity. The surrounding sections around the center stage pulled back as the four biomes rose to place. A thicket of trees standing near half a dozen meters off the ground appeared in the center of the Colosseum, hovering in the sky. A wide space of boiling hot water and steam with rocks warped to spew out pressurized steam when they built up. Besides, it was a vast wasteland of ice and glaciers that looked like it had been hit by a sudden snowstorm. And finally, there was a biome with several black hovering platforms floating over each other, several stories above the ground. Only whistled them. We're going to cause some serious havoc here. Are you ready? The audience around the Colosseum erupted into cheers and claps as their excitement reached a pitch they could no longer contain. 3. Naruto's hand reached back and carefully gripped around his short sword. 2. Sasuke settled on the sword to his hip. 1. Omi reached back and grabbed his hand as he lowered his stance. Begin! Kakari twitched her arms, causing two barrels to pop out of her gauntlets that quickly started warming up. She raised her arms and released a storm of bullets at her foes. Naruto and Sasuke quickly separated, dodging in different directions as her gunfire followed them and riddled the ground behind them. Kakari stretched her arms out and yelled as she forced herself back to separate onto either side of the arena. With Naruto running towards the geysers and ice, Sasuke had retreated towards the forest and anti-gravity biomes. Kaoru turned and aimed both barrels at Uchiha as he ran into the trees and disappeared. Omi ran by her, unsheathing his blade and letting it hang by his side as he charged Naruto with intent. Once the blonde Faunus reached the edge of the center arena, he spun around and drew Squall out of his grip. He yelled and charged forward to meet Omui. The two crossing blades in a shower of spark before sliding past each other. They stopped themselves and turned back around, the pair becoming blurs as they lunged at each other and crossed blades. Naruto and Omui started to step around each other, slashing out and attacking so quickly even the big screen display had trouble keeping up with their movement. Omui was determined to overwhelm his Faunus foe, gripping his sword handle with both hands to add as much power and weight to his swings as possible. Naruto's reflexes were instant, easing his blade up to block and counter when he could. Even as he started losing footing, he couldn't keep up with the longer katana in range and resorting to using the guards on his forearms to protect himself. When one of Omui's strikes nearly knocked the Kodachi out of Naruto's hands, the Atlas student chose that moment to strike, dodging aside when Naruto threw out a quick kick to force him back. Omui to turn on his feet and drag the tip of his sword up to swing for Naruto's chin. The blonde leaned back to avoid the blade, but stumbled on his feet for a moment to regain balance. Omui's eyes glinted as he spotted his chance and turned on the ball of his feet, spinning his entire body around and bringing his sword out to attack Naruto with his full force and momentum, only to suddenly stop as the glowing orange hand grabbed his katana before he could hit its target. His eyes widened and he looked over as Naruto smirked. His thumb was activated and his opponent right by his side. He kicked Omui in the hip and sensed the dark-skinned boy tumbling into the ground. Not wasting a second, Naruto spun Squall around in his hand and started firing arrow after arrow at his opponent. But Omui had already recovered and was back on his feet, swinging his sword and easily swatting away the elemental arrows that ignited with fire and lightning. Again, the two boys were back at each other with close range fighting, trading slashes and blows as they attempted to overwhelm the other. Omui remained wary this time, using his weapon's superior range to attack from a distance and swing faster. In response, Naruto did what he did best, charging in close and fighting with his Kodachi in cloaked hand. Every few exchanges, Naruto would throw out a punch or kick to keep Omui off balance. The other students remained undeterred and attacked when he got the opportunity. Naruto's legs came swinging down at an angle and tried to sweep his foot, but only jumped back to avoid the sweep. Then lurching forwards, he charged at Naruto's chest with a ramming shoulder. The Faunus saw it coming and jumped up to roll over Omui's back as he charged him. He dismounted on the other side, and Omui spun around immediately to swing his sword at his head. Naruto somersaulted away and vaulted back while the swordsman gave chase. Omui continued to swing and slash as the opponents continued to flip, but just outside of his sword's reach. Their quick movement and constant distance finally led them to the edge of the center arena and to the ice biome. Naruto flipped one last time and planted his aura-clad hand on one of the glaciers before spinning off of it. His semblance took on the icy characteristics of the dust, and the moment he landed, he spun around to attack its foe. Omui raised his sword to guard against the icy hand reaching his way. The moment Naruto touched the katana, a layer of ice spread over the entire blade, and Omui's hands to keep him stuck. The Beacon and Atlas students were locked together, struggling to overpower the other. Omui growled and started to jerk around to escape from Naruto. The blonde just smirked at his worthless efforts to shirk him loose as he tossed his kodachi up and snatched it snatched it out of the air. Omui's eyes widened in shock, and he started to duck and weave around Naruto's slashes for his forehead. Omui tried to kick Naruto's legs out from underneath him in order to gain a momentary reprieve, but the blonde faunus anticipated his moves and avoided them with ease. In fact, Naruto deliberately flipped over one of them, causing Omui to flip alongside him until he painfully crashed into the ice. Omui groaned and looked up as Naruto had him pinned to the ground and was ready to strike. He raised his kodachi up and prepared to strike down to end the match. Ha! Omui forced his hand to move in the ice and activated his katana's dust functions. The blade glowed bright blue, and the ice exploded off of it and caused Naruto to pull his hand back. He then had to lean back and jump away when Omui swung for his neck. The fawn slid to a shaky step on the ice as Omui quickly picked himself back up. I had something hidden away all the way to the doubles, huh? And I guess you aren't used to fighting in ice and snow, are you? Naruto nervously chuckled as he looked down and tried to steady himself. As he stood back up, he nearly slipped on the icy surface as Omui stood up far more easily. We're about to fight in the tundra, and you're in the enemy's nest. Spooky. Even without a proper footing, Naruto was not intimidated and smiled assuredly at his opponent. But I'm still pretty scrappy, and I learn really fast. So if you got any other tricks you want to whip out of your sleeve, then now's the chance. Omui narrowed his eyes that brimmed with hesitation and confusion. He certainly had the advantage in footing at the moment, but the longer he waited, the longer Naruto would have to adapt. Should he go in for the attack right away? If he did, would he be leaving himself open for a counter? If he did counter, what kind of counter could it possibly be? That aura hand of his was versatile. So what could it do? To strike back at him? His thoughts were plagued with ideas of doubt that could betray him at any moment. But without wasting another second in his own head, Omui stood back up and raised his katana before him. He closed his eyes and focused his spirit. His thoughts were cleared, and all those niggling doubts were whipped away. Omui opened his eyes and Naruto noticed the almost supernatural glow around his pupils. With unmatched determination and focus, Omui looked at Naruto and slowly narrowed his eyes. His hands tightened around the grip of his sword, and it remained the bright blue glow of its dust again. Naruto slowly raised his blade. So what happens now? Omui started swinging his blade around himself at intense speeds as the blue light left a trail behind it. He made a show of the extravagant and precious movement before finally ending it with a quick swipe down to the side. Naruto stared at the spectacle and shrugged. Okay, impressive, but I was expecting more of the trail the dust had made solidified has nearly a dozen identical swords made out of hard light floated around Omui. The Atlas huntsman raised his sword and all the others moved in sync with it. Oh shit! Hunting! Kaori carefully made her way through the forest with her mounted turrets at the ready. The human hunters remained attentive and wary of her surroundings, and knowing that Uchiha could drop down or pop out of anywhere. Her senses were as focused as they could be, but Uchiha was still hidden and eluding her eluding her detection. All right, he had a little more skill than she had originally anticipated, so she would give him that. that, but that was all he would get. Karate turned around in an instant and released a storm of bullets. Grass and dirt were uprooted with her rapid fire shots, and she riddled the ground with holes as her spray chased after Sasuke. He ran behind trees, but had to quickly run to another as the thick bark was reduced to splinters with her shooting. Mighty trees continued to fall in her wake, and Sasuke continued to run around to avoid them before finally managing to disappear from her sight. Karate stopped firing and slowly walked around while staying on guard. "You're quick. I'm guessing you're trying to utilize a hidden run tactic while also getting me to spin my ammo, right?" Her gauntlets hummed and clicked back into place as she smirked him. Well, sorry to inform you, but that's not going to happen for a while. A hard ammo means that as long as I have the time to prepare, then I'll never run out of ammunition. "That may be," Sasuke's voice echoed to the trees, "but this can only last for so long. No matter how potent or rich it is, sooner or later, those munitions will wear out, and with your generous use of it, I can promise you it's gonna be later. The only thing happening soon is me kicking your ass and sending you flying off the stage. So how about you stop hiding?" And Karate ducked and avoided the sword, the swing that flew above her head and cleaved through the part of the tree beside her. She immediately popped back up and tried to hit him with the back fist. Sasuke caught the strike before he could hit him and clamped his hand down on the turret to force it into her gauntlet before he could fire. Did he just touch your guns? He wasn't gonna live long enough to regret that. With a pulsing vein and growl, Karate made the other turrets retract as well before bringing her other fist swinging. Sasuke quickly disengaged and hopped back as the hunter stretched like an animal and charged after him. Despite her thin frame and smaller stature, the Atlas student did not hesitate to rush into a close quarters fight with the Uchiha, which with each step he took back. She stomped forward, swinging her gauntlets in to strike and break him. Sasuke blocked each of her attacks by parrying them when they came, and he had to admit the force behind them was staggering. His back landed against a tree, and he quickly dodged the punch to his head that created the bark. Sasuke drove aside and tucked into a roll to gain some distance. And Karate took the opportunity to activate her turrets again and started to fire. This time the Uchiha didn't run, drawing out his sword and using it to deflect the gunshots in different directions as he pushed forward to gain ground. When he was close enough, Karate yelled and kicked for his head. He turned aside and easily avoided her attack to slide in at her side. She raised her gauntlets, but Sasuke's hands came up to grab her, forcing the turrets back into her tech and stopping them from firing. Sasuke showed a small smirk as he had the hunters at his mercy. Karate responded with a wild grin of her own. Two more barrels jetted from the underside of her gauntlets and had Sasuke directly in their aim. Uchiha released his hold and jumped away as streams of fire burst out from her wrist. Karate yelled and started dragging her flames over the immediate area. The trees around them started to catch fire, and the flames slowly spread over the rest of the biome. Sasuke and Karate stood across from each other, illuminated and shadowed in the flickering lights of the flames around them. Karate stepped forward, unfettered by the fire, as she smirked him. You're definitely not the one I should have chosen to go after. I should have switched with Omui and let him take you out. At least your partner could actually put up a fight. She clenched her fists and prepared to start again. I'll have to finish this up fast and join them before he gets put down too. Hunting. Naruto leapt over a spire of ice and slipped for a moment before balancing himself. He turned around and knocked the floating blades out of the air before he could stab him, but he had to quickly bring his Kodachi back in to deflect and parry the three other blades that attacked in quick succession. Omu yelled and leapt over the same ice obstacle and clashed blades with Naruto before they separated. The hard light blades floated around Omui before stilling and jetting forward. Naruto clicked his tongue and took a stance to knock the blades out of the air before they could reach him. He deflected two with his kodachi and caused another two to dissipate when he fired dust arrows at them. He lifted his legs to avoid the one that swung down to his feet, and when all three floating blades layered together to attack his rooted leg, he leapt up and spun in the air to avoid them. Almost slid in when Naruto landed, and the two started to exchange strikes again. The Atlas student had his long katana and his three hard light swords to aid him in battle, while Naruto kept a strong guard up with his short sword and his aura cloak hand. The Atlas fighter attempted to overwhelm his foe with multiple attacks on all sides, but Naruto was able to hold them off with quick reflexes and knocking the light blades away with his semblance. With the roar, the blonde grabbed a blade out of the air and crushed it before swiping it down to break another one. The sharp movements made Naruto lose his balance for an instant. Almost kick struck him in the chest and knocked him off of his feet. The beacon husband fell to the ground and slid alongside the ice before stabbing his blade down to stop himself. With a snarl, he came himself up on his knees and glared at Omi with contempt. He was getting really tired of the slippery foot and shit getting in the way of his fight. Every time he thought he had found some solid ground to fight on his foot, his foot would twist in, and he'd normally get split down the middle, and while he was out here shaking on his legs like a newborn deer, the other guy was gliding along and fighting on the ice like some skating assassin. His flying swords were also stopping him from properly collecting himself, and this guy was using that advantage at every moment at every possible opportunity. He was a bodily nerve wreck a few minutes ago, and now his concentration and focus reminded him of Sasuke. It had to be his semblance that was making him this focused. So what was he supposed to do against a focused energy with hard light blades floating around him on the battlefield? Where standing up was a learning curve. Naruto's eyes slowly panned over and around Omui's side at the biome. It was time to witness the geyser of hot water and air spray up from the ground. Yeah, that'll do. Naruto's ice-covered hand stretched out from his side and grabbed an icicle. He pulled and started to drag himself along the ice and away from Omui. The dark-skinned boy immediately gave chase and ran after the escaping blonde as he stretched out his aura again and pulled himself around a corner. Naruto slid along the ice until he reached the next biome, splashing through the water and rolling on his side as he reached the stone and rock. He then scrambled up on his feet and slammed his ice-covered hand down on the multiple puddles along the borders of the biome. A wall of ice jutted up from the ground, and Omui narrowed his eyes as he approached. He leapt up and slashed the ice to pieces until it broke apart around him. He landed, quickly looking around for his foe, but unable to spot him after emerging into the next biome. He looked back and saw Naruto charging at him with a roar. Raising his katana up, he took the brunt of Naruto's kick on the flat side of his sword, flew through the air before landing on his feet. An area full of ice right next to an area with high humidity and hot water. Naruto smirked and kicked up some water from the large puddle he was standing in. Lots of melted ice and puddles started building up while we were fighting, but must have been at it for a while. The whiskered blonde slammed his ice-dust hand into the water and caused another large wall of ice to rise up, blocking them from going back to the ice biome. I guess you and I can finish things on this side from now on. You got me to move from the ice to the geysers. Congratulations, you robbed yourself a free dust to use all around you for your semblance. Omui said as he lowered his stance and raised his sword. But it won't make a difference either way. Oh, it will definitely make a difference. Naruto looked down at the ice around his area and noticed it was starting to melt from the high temperature. He dispelled his semblance, making his aura disappear, and the ice around his hand as well before he summoned it again. The orange energy around his hand returned as he stepped forward. Because I might not have all that ice dust to use anymore, but he grinned, tapping his toe on the solid ground beneath him. I'm pretty sure I can fight a whole lot better here. In the second day, he was on Omui, dashing across the geysers and crossing the distance in an instant. As he leapt at the Atlas swordsman, Omui's eyes widened in shock. Without hesitation, on reflex, Omui turned his sword and sent the last card light blade he had flying towards the blonde's head. As he dashed in, the blade hit the palm of Naruto's enhanced hand, and he crushed it between his fingers before rushing in. Omui blocked the swing to his face with his katana, but Naruto dropped to the ground in a single move and swept the swordsman's legs out from under him. He dropped to the ground and had to scamper away as Naruto attacked with sharp kicks and swings along the smooth rock of the biome. While the Atlas swordsman had the advantage on the ice and its unstable footing, the beacon huntsman took advantage of the solid footing and adapted how to best pressure his opponent. Damn it! Omu yelled, the glow fading from his eyes and his composure starting to fail. He looked down at the dust along his sword and realized he hadn't changed up enough for a second round of hard light. I just need a second. What's wrong? Can't catch your breath. Naruto lunged at Omu over a geyser as it burst behind him. He kicked at Omu's ribs and was blocked by the swordsman's elbow, but swiftly pulled his leg back and struck him in the nose with a follow-up. He twisted and landed a back kick in Omu's chest and sent him bouncing off the ground. Because I can do this all day, Omu hissed. Cowardly, you better hurry up. Hunting, Sasuke weaved through the burning trees, deflected bullets with the flat side of his katana, and dodged the gunfire that slipped through. Kaori roared like an animal and chased after Uchiha and felled every tree that stood in the way of her target. Sasuke kept jumping back to avoid Kaori's onslaught, but when he reached the end of the forest biome and jumped up, he noticed that he was floating for longer and hadn't started dropping down again. He looked down and realized he had moved into the anti-gravity biome in his retreat. Kaori stopped at the edge of the biome and looked down at the unfamiliar arena she would be fighting in next. Dozens of floating platforms and steps at different sizes rotating or gliding slowly over the biome, and at the ground level were several machines pumping the anti-gravity dust energy into the air to cause the effect. The huntress clicked her tongue as she realized that she would have to finish this in a battlefield she wasn't accustomed to. She leaped off the ground and floated up into the air straight towards Sasuke. Kaori pointed her arms back and activated her flamethrowers, which gave her a boost and some control over where she sailed. With his opponent quickly gaining on him, Sasuke aimed his shotgun in a direction and fired. It sent him tumbling through the air and into a large platform that was floating sideways through the air. Kaori furrowed her eyes and looked around for a different platform to land on away from her foe. She shifted and landed on another surface opposite from her target. It unsteadily moved through the air, and Kaori found a way to balance. She fired one turret at Sasuke and used the other's flamethrower to counter the recoil. The Uchiha quickly had to leap off the platform as her gunfire lit the whole thing up. He used his shotgun to maneuver through the air, and when he landed on a platform, he turned his sheath around and fired back at Kaori. The Atlas Huntress cursed under her breath as she jumped to the side and avoided the explosive blast. This anti-gravity terrorist territory was a pain in the ass and was only going to get more irritating if she had to worry about flying off every time she fired. Deciding that wasn't how she would deal with this, she aimed down and started releasing a barrage of bullets. Her gunfire lit the generators and caused them to short-circuit. The gravity energy they regulated faltered and malfunctioned. Both hunters grabbed on tight to the platforms as the gravity started to return and disappear at odd intervals. The gravity returned and the platforms that they stood on started to fall. So they jumped off and landed on a larger platform in the center. The moment they landed, they started to attack each other, dodging and punching and slashing as quickly as they could, while they still had a proper place to stand on. Kaori blocked with her gauntlets and charged in to throw a punch at Sasuke's head. He turned and avoided her jab while throwing a quick kick at her vulnerable side. Kaori knew he'd strike there and grabbed his foot before he could hit her. She twisted his foot and forced him to flip before tossing him aside. They immediately charged at each other and violently attacked. The gravity started to fluctuate sporadically, causing the two to fly around in every direction. They dropped upwards, downwards, side to side, desperately grabbing onto whatever platform they could gain purchase on, and striking at each other when they were close. Their bodies were flung sideways into a spinning platform, and Sasuke slammed into it bodily. Karari followed, tackling into his chest and grappling with him as they floated. Damn it! Just stay down! Karari yelled, trying to punch Sasuke while the Uchiha grabbed her wrist and stopped her. She roared, just make it easy on yourself and stay down! No can do, Sasuke responded, pushing back and nearly overpowering the dark-skinned girl. You might need to try a little harder if you want to actually get the better of me. This cocky shit. He was just coasting on. He was just coasting on the coattails of his partner, but he actually had more skills than he let on, enough to almost match her. But if she didn't have to keep dancing around trees or fumbling through anti-gravity, this would all be settled already. In fact, she had to save it, use it against that bratty blonde and his abilities. But if she didn't hurry, then Omui might be overwhelmed and lose. Then she'd have to fight off two of them at once. But it was too precious a skill too. Shit! Karari grabbed Sasuke's collar and yanked him forward so that their eyes were in line. She narrowed her eyes as the yellow irises pulsed in an unnatural glow. The same glow appeared in Sasuke's eyes as he went still and his body froze in place. Karari jumped off the platform and dragged Sasuke along before tossing him into the air. Take this, you bastard! She aimed down and started firing on the generator again. This time the damage was enough to cause the entire thing to shut down completely. The anti-gravity disappeared and everything started to fall under their normal weight. Giant platforms and step no longer being suspended in air. Karari landed on the center stage in a crash, and Sasuke fell with all the platforms dropping down on top of him. The Atlas Huntress didn't waste a moment before sprinting towards the geyser biome. As she charged, the competitors spoke up while the crowd cheered. It appears that contestant Karari has incapacitated contestant Sasuke and has pinned him under a massive pile of rubble. That was one's fighting stage, but it looked for a moment like the young lady caused the boy to freeze in place. How could she have possibly done that? Astute observation, Peter, and one with an interesting answer. Contestant Karari used her semblance, a praise gaze, to cause a short-term paralysis to take over her opponent. She looks them in the eye and they freeze up right on the spot, unable to move or fight back for a short period of time, but long enough for her foes to strike down her opponent with a flurry of strikes, or in this case, a massive amount of metal dropping right on top of them. Damn it, these assholes have to give away her semblance like that. Why not just tell everyone her entire biographical history while they were at it? This is why she didn't want to use her semblance until the final round, because if she did, then the competitors would have to contextualize it for the crowd, which meant spilling the secret to her future opponents as well. Now she wasted her discretion on that disgrace of a huntsman, and she doubted she'd recover in time to use it again during the match. Oh well, she didn't need any special ability to waste this showboat. Screaming at the top of her lungs as geysers erupted around her. Karari charged at Naruto while he fended off Omui. He heard her scream and turned around to see her aim her turrets at him. As bullets started to fly, Naruto ducked aside and started sprinting across the field. Bullets dug into the rock and lifted the pressured streams of water that shot up. He took a sharp turn and charged directly on the Huntress with a roar. Flames sprouted out of her wrist and the fox had to stop his assault before he was cooked. His ears flickered and he leaned back to avoid the katana swinging for his head. Omui pushed forward, swiping at Naruto wherever his guard was low and forcing him to stay on the back foot. He got the katana against his kodachi and started to push back. Ha! Karari kicked his leg out and caused him to topple over. Naruto quickly reacted, bracing himself and landing with one hand with his hands by his head. Karari and Omui trying to attack him while they had the advantage, but Naruto forced them to jump back when he started spinning like a top over the ground. He flipped back up to his feet and re-engaged the Atlas duo as they attacked. He fended their attacks admirably, preparing and reposting Omui's sword strikes before fighting back Karari's punches. He caught her wrist and attempted to flip her on her back, but Omui stepped in. And didn't let him finish the move. Karari elbowed him in the gut and slipped away before Naruto could retaliate. The big huntsman groused as he extended his hand and forced Omui to retreat. Finally having room to breathe, Naruto wiped the sweat off his cheek. This might be harder than I thought. Do you want to know where you made your mistake? Kaori asked as she caught her breath alongside panting Omui. It was when you decided to steal the show during your match. You were so busy playing it up for the camera that you didn't realize showing off your skills was your biggest mistake. The grouchy girl pointed at him as she continued. Your semblance is strong, but it can only cover your right hand, which means if we overwhelm you with numbers and attacks in tandem, then you're left open. No matter how versatile your skill is, you can't fight multiple enemies forever. Here's some advice for the future. Kaori extended her turret, and then Naruto said, next time you shouldn't show your team's ace so quickly. She prepared to end the fight before she noticed something. What are you doing? Huh? You're smiling. Why are you smiling? You're losing. I am? Naruto finally noticed the grin growing on his face and chuckled. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to, I'm just happy is all. The blonde finally picked himself up and giggled with glee. I knew it was gonna work. He said there was no way, and Tenten was reluctant, but I knew it was gonna work. Kaori narrowed her eyes and raised her guns again. You better start making sense. I made a plan at the beginning of the second semester to help us better our chances. It was a long con and pretty dangerous, but I knew he could make it work. Naruto smirked. No better tactic than pulling your opponents into a false sense of superiority. What the hell are you talking about? Well, do you really think I'm the strongest guy on our team? Kaori's eyes widened before she turned around. A bullet already fired and traveling down the barrel of her turret, but the turret and the bullet within were silenced into like hot butter. Gah! Kaori yelled as she was kicked in the chest and sent flying into Omui. The two dragging along the ground before finally stopping. The angry girl clutched her chest and sat up. How did you not get hurt? Who said I didn't? That hurt like hell. And my aura took a serious hit as well. Sasuke, covered in dirt and scuff marks, looked up on the screen to see his aura bar was just a single pixel over the minimum bar for suspension. One more hit and I'm finished. Although not like I'm letting anyone make that hit. He turned angrily at Naruto. Next time you have a plan to hide semblances and pull range of abilities for months on end from people who are unfamiliar with it, it better be your turn to carry that burden. Fine, I can live with that. Sasuke katana slashed up and cut through the hard light bullet coming his way. The duo looked over as Kaori picked herself up and Omui slowly did the same. The fiery red hit snarled and charged at the beacon students in a bloodthirsty rage. Naruto leapt forward and met her halfway as Sasuke dashed around them towards Omui. The dark-skinned boy raised his sword and parried Sasuke's blade as he attacked, only to freeze when he saw Sasuke's red eyes settling on him and pulsed. Suddenly Omui found his body frozen and unresponsive. That is unusual, Sasuke remarked and kicked Omui in the chest and sending him tumbling onto the ground where he lay prone. He turned and saw Kaori had separated from Naruto, but was shocked by what she'd seen. I see why you wanted to keep this hidden for so long. How did Oh, it looks like the contestant Sasuke has finally decided to show just what he is capable of. He's one of the most talented young spirits in Beacon. Barty, just performance hasn't been that notable thus far, but it seems like he's shaken off the cobwebs, pulled up his boots, and decided to end it with style. And he's brought out his semblance for good measure, and quite the ace to pull out, Peter. With activation and invented in his eyes, his skill appears. His reflexes are sharper, his focus is enhanced, and with a single glance he can replicate a person's semblance until he changes to a different one or deactivates completely. This is his mirror, and we are sure to see something spectacle now. Kaori's eyes widened in shock as Sasuke slowly turned and approached her with a careful stroll over. She was nervous and fretful, but raised her weapons to attack as quickly as she could. You tricked us. Yes, we did. Sasuke dashed forward and re-engaged with Kaori, who forced her back as his strikes were far heavier and preciser than they were before. Naruto smirked and walked over to Omui while he was still paralyzed. He knelt down beside the Atlas student and picked up his sword. Sorry, dude. It was pretty cool fighting you while we had the chance. Maybe next time we can fight alone and see if my blade beats your hard light ones. But for now, he crushed the sword in his aura-enhanced grip and then grabbed Omui's collar. Time to win this thing. Damn it! Kaori yelled as she fought back. I won't lose here. Heads up! Sasuke jumped up and avoided Omui as he was thrown out of their way and collided into Kari. She gasped in shock and quickly stomped her feet down while clutching her frozen partner. Naruto had stretched out and grabbed Sasuke out of the air before yanking him back in. The blonde started to spin around and dragged Uchiha along with him before spiking him at the Atlas students. Sasuke rammed into them, sending them flying across the stage before Sasuke pressed his shotgun barrel against their bodies. Yes, you will. He pulled the trigger, and with a massive explosion, the two Atlas students were sent flying through the field and over the edge. They slammed to the ground and laid there in a pile as they tried to recover from the blast. That's it. It's over. With a ring double knockout and a double aura depletion, contestant Kari and contestant Omui are out of the fight, which means contestant Naruto and contestant Sasuke have won the match. The double rounds is over, and we have a lineup for the singles. This is it, people. We're in the end game now. Sasuke sheathed his sword as he landed on the edge of the biome. His adrenaline finally started to wane as he noticed the audience. He slowly turned around and tried to take in just how many people were applauding. Yes, we did it! Naruto jumped onto Sasuke's back and nearly toppled them over. He lifted his surprised friend up in the air and spun around him. We passed! We won! Why do I keep getting lifted up? He grasped, failing to hide his faint smile as he heard his friends scream, laugh, and cheer along with the crowd. He was finally dropped onto his feet and tried to collect himself again as Naruto started to flip and do somersaults for the crowd's entertainment. Sasuke looked around and spotted his friends waving and losing their minds from the stance. He felt his own smile widen slightly before he waved back, spotting Nora tossing popcorn up in the air like confetti as Yang lifted Tenten and Ruby as they screamed in joy. Naruto came running over and pulled Sasuke's hand up into the air with his. The crowd's cheering seemed to double in intensity as Naruto's laughter alone nearly matched it in volume. He laughed and looked around again, raising his sword up proudly for the first time in his life. No wonder they've been looking forward to this for so long. It was nice winning like this for once. Hunting, our team lost at the end, but it was still a wicked fight. I taped it so we can watch it again. The orange-haired crook scoffed as he leaned back into his cell, while soldiers excitedly ran by. I hope they can enjoy it while it lasts. Hunting, this was straining. He had lost count of how many repetitions he had done at this point. There was so little for him to do in here, and so training and exhausted himself was the only productive use of his time. But his muscles were aching fiercely, and he considered stopping for the day. Hey, they won. Who did? The team from Beacon, the Fox Farmers, and the Uchiha. They were a surprisingly awesome team. I don't think anyone would have beaten a team like that. His ears perked up, and he looked up. I looked up at the slit of his cell when he heard the guards speak about the fight. So they made themselves known to the world. Han focused back on his workout as he found a familiar motivation to push himself forward. Hunting. Oh, wow, I never thought I'd see a Faunus and the Uchiha work together. I never imagined they'd work so well. Kushina's smile started to grow as her bodyguard started to speak up, watching her son fight so valiantly, take control of a semblance that she believed he would never be able to utilize, left her so swelling with so much pride tears starting to fall through her mask. It was quite the show, wasn't it? Her happiness died in her chest as her bodyguards stood up and saluted. They panicked and tripped over their words as they tried to make an excuse. When they were dismissed, they ran away as quickly as they could, leaving just her and him. Adam walked over to her side and watched the stream with her. He let out a mirthless chuckle. It's odd how things work out, don't you think? It was a few years back, and he seems almost unrecognizable. But I remember fighting a pair of genuine Uchiha when the White Fang was establishing itself. One was an older boy who could nearly match me in sword play, while the other was his younger brother who simply charged into battle without a second thought. And now there he is, working alongside your son in an act that should send a shiver of fright through the spines of every Faunus on Remington. And why would they do that, Adam? Because these two seem to be vying for something that we now shouldn't be strived for, accepting and forgiveness. We can't accept Uchiha when they would risk destroying us at the earliest convenience, and we will never forget what they did to our ancestors. Adam looked down and rested a comforting hand on Kushina's shoulder. You'll have to teach your son that when you see him again. She smacked his hand off of her and turned to glare up at her masked leader. He just stared back at her, his expression hidden behind his mask before he turned away. We'll need to rally the troops and prepare for the plan ahead. Don't forget what's waiting for us at the end of this. A shame and horror that eats us within for the rest of our lives. Freedom and recognition like we have strived for our entire existence. And at the end of this, you'll hold your son and lover back in your arms again. Adam stopped at the doorway and looked back at his comrade. Imagine how proud it'll be when they see how you helped us change history. Krishna just lowered her hand and tried to calm her breathing when she was left alone. She raised her head and stared at the screen as it focused in on her son. If he ever saw her again, what would he do? Would he be overjoyed to finally see his mother again after all this time? Would he be horrified by the things she had let happen as a member of the White Fang? Or would he do his job as a huntsman and make sure the monstrosity known as the Red Death suffered for the actions she allowed to occur when she helped this horror come to pass? Honestly, Kristen didn't know which one she'd finally find peace with. Extra, straight to their heads. Cheers. Juniper, Noctix, Blake, and Wise all celebrated their advancement to the final rounds of the tournament. From then on, they would no longer be friends, but foes stood upon the same stage, vying for the ultimate glory. But right now, they wanted to celebrate with each other on how far they had come together. Then brought down her drink and smiled before pointing to the side. Ruby and Yang are finally back. In stark contrast to the rest of their friends, Blake and Wise looked back in abject horror as they saw that their happy teammates making their way over. Wise turned back around and covered her face in horror. Oh God, no! The others noticed their odd behavior. What's wrong? Listen, Blake spoke up, stern and deadly serious as she looked between her friends. Whatever you do, don't engage them, don't talk to them, don't look at them, don't even register that they exist. The others looked befuddled and alarmed by the extreme reaction the usual cool girls were giving before they turned away. Ruby and Yang joined them at the table with bright, joyous expressions on their faces. We're back. Hello. Peter politely greeted them with a small laugh as her curiosity got the best of her. What has you two in such a good mood? No, she just told you. Wise screeched, nearly pulled out her hair. Wait, why didn't you listen? As Wise screamed and Blake lowered her head, Ruby and Yang started to chuckle heartedly. Well, we're so very glad you asked us. We're just celebrating because we won the tournament. Noctis and Juniper shared a confused look. The tournament's still going on. The singles were just decided. Not that tournament, you plebe. Yang yelled before Jensen placed her hand on top of her breast. We have just won the only tournament that matters. We're the champions of EVO. Ruby cheered, jumping alongside her sister before the siblings high-fived in the air. This is my second championship in a row. I'm the best. Hey, you didn't win, or you were just the characters chosen. What was that? Sorry. Speak up. Our hearing is still a little shot after all those cheers and congratulations. Nearly made us deaf. Man, it is so hard to be people's mains in a great fighting game chosen for champions battles. Dato slammed his hand to the table and stood off his seat. You think you're so great being in a fighting game, so proud, so smug, but just because you're a good fighter doesn't mean you're the only one in the game. I've been around for nearly 20 years, and I had dozens of games made about me, and you're not the only ones who's been in crossovers before. Yeah, they're the cheered. People have been playing my game for generations, and you've only started making a mark on the back end of this one. Yeah, fighting games are gonna be making a comeback. Next year you'll see people fighting to claim championship in Ninja Storm 4. Yeah. Not looked around when he noticed his supportive crowd had suddenly lost their energy and spirit. What is the Storm 4? Yang said while Ruby chuckled at her side. You know the fighting game champion needs a fighting game, right? Not just a game where you mash buttons. Oh, sorry, I meant mash a button. Ninja Storm 4, it's a fighting game. Ruby giggled. Storm 4 is a fighting game in the same way Metal Gear Solid. It's a Metal Gear game. Not a Gaston Shaka. You take that back. I won't. That game ruined the franchise and legacy. Mine are fun ROMs everyone can enjoy instead of suffering through killer. Your button mashing is derived, and your 3D arenas ruin what is meant to what it means to fight on a closed stage. You're the reason fighting games are dying. Don't you put that evil on me, Ruby Rose. Don't you lay that sin on me. You wanna mash your O, B buttons and attack me? I'll show you what a real combo looks like, sucker. Fine, you're not the only one in a crossover game. What about Jump Force? Naruto, keep a healthy spot on your shoulder. You're just embarrassing yourself at this point. Well, we're off. Yang and Ruby strutted away, cock off the walk, cock off the walk style. Come talk to us when you are actually ready to get in a fighting game. Their friends were left fuming and wishing for better things as they imagined what it would be like to be in a real fighter. Sasuke noticed the looks they were getting from some of the other tables. Sorry about our friends. They're a little too pleased with themselves. We completely understand. Cinder and her friends nodded in sympathy. Believe me, we're going through something similar. The small muted twin-tailed girl happily strolled around while ignoring all the looks she was getting. Uncaring of who saw her, she reached over and grabbed some food off of John's plate. My nugget. She raised her hand, and the much taller blonde flinched and protected himself. She nodded and bit into the chicken treat before strolling away like a queen. Mercury sighed. It's gonna be such a pain in the ass hearing her gloat about this. Emerald groaned, which she can't even do, which makes it all the more annoying when she does. I'm gonna kill her, Cinder said quietly. I'm going to kill them all. You mean when you get introduced as one of the other DLC characters, right? Sure, that. End of chapter 76.